Orange Cassidy speaks and can be a little eloquent on the topic of global warming, though not so much on anything else. But he did have some stern words for Chris Jericho. What's up, everybody? Eric here from That's Wrestling. Thanks for tuning into the AEW Dynamite review show. Be sure to head over to YouTube if you have not subscribed over there, if you listen to this as a podcast, because this show is done live at 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. We're going to have some preemptions coming up, though, from AEW. They're going to be on a couple Thursdays and a couple Saturday, or one Saturday. So I'm guessing those shows will probably be the following Friday, and Sunday. So we will see. It just depends on who will be available. Also, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, because I do short videos throughout the week covering news from AEW and New Japan. Be sure to share around the content. It helps a lot. Head over to iTunes and give us a review. That helps a ton as well. There's also a Discord you can join. There's people in there all the time talking about all types of different things. And if you have a question you want to send in, you can email me, Eric at thatswrestling.com, so we can read those out. And I'm looking for some more people to help cover New Japan. So if you're interested in doing that, shoot me an email, Eric at thatswrestling.com, or get to me through the Discord link that is in the description. I am flying solo at the moment because whoever was supposed to be with me is not with me at the moment, so we will see if he pops on throughout this. So let's start off the show. We had JR, Tony, and Taz once again on commentary. I wouldn't read too heavily into this about Excalibur because this show was taped last Thursday, so they did live on Wednesday and then taped the show that we just watched last night on last Thursday. So just 2 days in a row. So it would make sense that they just stick with the same commentary team, see what plays out over the next 2 weeks. Again, it's an old story and it was in storyline. I don't think there's really anything to talk about on this one, but they start off the show right out of the gate with the 12-man tag. Immediately, they basically started off the show within 30 seconds. Everybody was already in the ring. There was no ring entrances or anything like that. We had FTR, the Young Bucks, Omega, and Hangman Page versus Brodie Lee, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, Colt Cabana, 5 and 9 from the Dark Order. Nick hits a crazy run-up top rope Rana, which was insane. We have the Elite and FTR rotating tags in and out right away. Of course, we eventually get a breakdown where everybody runs into the ring and brawls for a bit. Eventually, near the end of the match, we had Dax hurting his knee, and everyone kind of went to tend to him. Omega was kind of left on his own for a minute there, and Cash and Hangman help Dax to the back, so it's left as just the Bucks and Omega versus the 6 members of the Dark Order, so they have to go at 3-on-6. But eventually we have Hangman making his way back to tag out. I believe it was Matt who was getting worked over in the ring for quite a long time. Nick and Omega were taken out on the outside by the Dark Order, so he had nobody to tag. But we have Hangman Page coming down. He takes out all of the Dark Order, and we have Hangman Page doing a moonsault off the top rope to the floor on all the Dark Order guys except Brodie Lee. Brodie Lee was up on the apron, and he just stood there and watched it all happen. They get into the ring together, and we have a stare down of Brodie Lee and Hangman Page. This really is all playing out over the past few weeks, where Brodie Lee wanted Hangman in the Dark Order. There was some alluding to some Being Elite segments where Hangman Page had talked to Silver and Reynolds saying that, hey, I filled out the form and everything, but you guys never got back to me. And then he kind of moved on and realized he wasn't really ready to join a cult. So that's what kind of happened there. And Brodie Lee was it last week or the week before, kind of said that Hangman, well, I guess you've decided and we're not going to protect you. And they just beat him up. So in this match, they have a stare down, and Hangman tosses 5. Wow, I don't think that's actually right. Anyways, he fights with Brodie Lee for a bit. They brawl for a minute until the Dark Order low bridges Hangman to the outside. Brodie Lee hits this massive dive, and then Colt Cabana hits Chicago Skyline on Hangman. Kenny has to break up the pin, and then we have the Elite coming in. They super kick everybody. They set up Brodie Lee for their last call, but as Hangman is doing the flip over the top rope, the Dark Order pulls Omega and the Bucks out of the ring, leaving Hangman alone. Brodie Lee ducks the buckshot lariat and then hits him with this crazy shot of this spinning lariat, and he pins Omega. So we have the Dark Order beating the Elite, plus or minus Hangman, depending if you consider him in the Elite or not still. And I think this is a very interesting way to go about this. We have Dax and Cash leaving the match. Is Dax really injured? Were they faking it to get out of the match to leave the Elite alone? We're not sure, so we will see how that plays out. After the match, something interesting happened. I haven't heard anybody mention it on any podcast that I've listened to so far, but as the Dark Order was celebrating up on the stage, we have Colt Cabana there next to Brodie Lee, and he throws up the Dark Order hand gesture, but he doesn't just hold it still. He's kind of like doing it as a fist pump and then quickly closes his hand into a fist afterwards. So it was very quick, so I'm not sure if anybody really picked up on it, but very interesting that Colt seems to be heading even more into the Dark Order, really buying in at this point and starting to feel like he might be part of the group. So that storyline continues to be a slow burn, and it's been intriguing how this one goes, and I think they've been doing a really good job on just the slow build of Colt Cabana joining the Dark Order and getting deeper into their folds. Next up, we had a quick Jon Moxley promo. This is a pre-tape behind the scenes. Looked like he was in a stairwell of some kind, and Moxley says that when he was younger, he had a lot of demons, and people would try to talk him out of doing various death matches or fighting this guy or the other guy. Basically, all the vets were trying to give the young Jon Moxley advice, and now he's here to give Darby Allin advice, but he knows that Darby Allin is not going to take his advice because he's very similar to a young Jon Moxley, so he doesn't really expect it. But he says, last time I almost killed you when we had a match, and I don't want to do that again. But when the belt is on the line, then that's just I go in there to take care of business, and that's just how it's got to go. So my advice is, once you're down, stay down. So things don't go any further than they need to. Then next up, we have the match of Santana and Ortiz versus Best Friends. I thought this was a really fun match. Chucky T and Santana have a really good fast-paced opening, and then they both tag out. Trent and Ortiz have a similar sequence as well. Best Friends cut off Santana or Ortiz, double team with a do-si-do reversal. I have a soft spot in my heart for that reversal. I always think it's pretty fun to see. They go back and forth for a while, go into commercial, and they eventually get the heat on Trent. Trent hits a desperation clothesline to tag in Chuck. He hits a sliced bread on Ortiz, and then hits Soul Food and a Falcon Arrow for a 2 count. Best Friends hit an assisted superplex, and then Santana pulls Chuck off the apron at one point and runs him into the stage, so Trent can't make the tag, and it takes Chuck out for a little while. They beat on Trent for a bit, and then they set up Trent for a street sweeper, but Chucky T manages to get up onto the apron, pushes Santana off of the top rope, allowing Trent to roll up Ortiz and get the pin. Ortiz looks very incensed at this point. He's just like staring like he can't believe this happened. And this will play into something a little bit later when it comes back. And next up, we go into MJF's campaign headquarters. This was entertaining segment. So he basically has a huge conference room set up. He's got a few people working for him. There's one guy who's separating all the green looked like Skittles out of the mixed bag of Skittles, which was pretty funny. MJF also runs him down because the poster on the wall next to him is not level. He gets all pissed off about that. And then as the segment was ending, the cameraman asks, so what if Darby Allin beats Jon Moxley for the AEW title tonight? And he sarcastically says, oh, that would be terrible if I had to face the 125-pound emo kid for the title at All Out. That would be just terrible. So obviously he would rather face Darby Allin than Jon Moxley at All Out. Next up, we have a Matt Hardy promo in the ring. He says that he came to AEW because he wanted to go somewhere where he felt more respected. He thought that he would just be an attraction, introduce everyone to the multiverse and personalities of Matt Hardy. But he's listened to the fans, and AEW listens to the fans, and he says that they just want Matt Hardy to be Matt Hardy, so he is giving up all those gimmicks and is just going to be regular old Matthew Hardy, I guess. And he says he wants to help out, though, and he's helping out Private Party. He wanted to help out Sammy Guevara. He told Sammy, you need to get away from Jericho because that's the only way you're going to move up. You're just his whipping boy at this point. But Sammy decided to throw it in his face, give him the middle finger. So he's done trying to help Sammy Guevara. And he says that he pushed Sammy off the top rope last week because that's what Sammy had done to him back when he debuted during a match. And then Sammy comes out and they brawl out of the ring over to the timekeeper's area. Sammy gets put through the timekeeper's table. Matt Hardy sets up another table on the outside. They fight some more, and Sammy ends up laying out Matt Hardy on the table. Sammy picks up a chair, an open chair no less, and tosses it at Matt Hardy, and it hits him in the face, and you can see Matt kind of like checking his head with his hand a few times, and it looked like everything was okay. And then Sammy goes up to the stage and hits like a 450 splash senton. It was more of a senton because he actually landed back first. And this is when we see that Matt Hardy, no, not everything was fine. He had a huge gash. He was covered in blood. There was a pool of blood on the table where his head had been. Later we find out today that he had to get, I've heard different 10 to 13 stitches. He was just covered in blood, and Sammy got a bit of a talking to backstage that it was a bit reckless on how he conducted that with throwing the open chair at Matt Hardy. So some people were none too happy about that. I would say that this is a happy accident. Well, it's probably not happy, but a positive accident, because this really brings up the heat between Sammy and Matt, and Sammy showing a bit of a more vicious side than kind of his goofball side that we see, or that we've seen for a very long time at this point, and that he has kind of that vicious side. So this, I'm guessing, we're going to be seeing at All Out. That's what this match is going to eventually be taking place at. So we will see from there. Then we have a segment out in the parking lot. Santana and Ortiz are in front of Chuck E. T's, or Trent's mom's nice crisp white minivan, and they destroyed this thing with sledgehammers and the mad ball. They broke basically every piece of glass in it. They dented a bunch of the body panels. They spray painted it, and Santana and Ortiz basically are sending a message to the best friends after their slightly fluky win or earlier in the night. Then we see the in-ring debut of Matt Cardona. He is teaming up with Cody Rhodes to face the Dark Order members of John Silver and Alex Reynolds. This match was okay. Didn't really see anything new from Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder. He basically wrestled the same as he did in WWE, used the same finishing move that he is calling Radio Silence. For the most of this match, though, Cody gave so much to John Silver and Alex Reynolds. He just sold and sold and sold. They beat on him for like 7 minutes straight. But I did notice that Silver's actually looked pretty good in this match. He had a lot of awesome kicks. They had some good high-speed double team moves and sequences. So I'm not as down on Silver's and Reynolds as others. They've obviously been portrayed as just jobbers, but Silver's, I think he has potential. I just think the gimmick is a little lacking at the moment, or they need to start building him up a little bit more within the Dark Order. So we'll see how that plays out. But in the end, Cardona did hit the finisher Radio Silence, what they used to call the Rough Rider, and picks up the victory here. After the match, though, is when something interesting happened. As Cody was leaving, Scorpio Sky meets Cody in the entrance tunnel, and he wants a shot at the TNT Championship. For those who did not see AEW Dark the previous night, Scorpio Sky cut a promo post-match, and he was talking about how he's been called the king of AEW Dark, but he doesn't want to be known as that, and that is not the ceiling for him, and he wants to move up in AEW. So it looks like he is taking a shot right here. Then we have best friends in front of the destroyed van. They basically are saying Santana and Ortiz shouldn't mess with Trent's mom's car. If they wanted a rematch, all they had to do is ask. They didn't care if they do anything to them, but leave Trent's mom out of it. And that was basically that. So I guess we will have a rematch at some point soon. And then we move on to the Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho debate. This was interesting. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't really know what was to expect prior to this debate happening. Orange Cassidy does not say a ton, so or he hasn't. I don't even know if he's cut any promo on Dynamite before. I know he has, but I think it was in a commercial break, so only the people on Fight TV and in the arena got to see it. There has been some Orange Cassidy segments on a Road 2 show. The YouTube video prior to his match with Chris Jericho, he did have a bit of sit down and speaking segment, so I was curious how this debate was going to go. The special guest moderator is revealed to be Eric Bischoff. For those of you who it hadn't been spoiled ahead of time, which I had reported on one of the news wires on the YouTube channel, he says that they got 5 questions and it'll be put to the debaters to talk about. Jericho comes out in a nice new black suit, and Hager is carrying the orange stained coat with him on a coat hanger. And Orange Cassidy is in his normal getup of lots of denim and a t-shirt, and Jericho says even before, so the first question is asked, and it's, why does Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy hate each other so much? Jericho says, before I verbally annihilate you, I want to say I'm glad you dressed up for the occasion. And then this is where Orange Cassidy takes out a clip-on tie and clips it to his shirt. It was hilarious. And then Jericho says, I despise everything about you. People laugh at you behind your back. They laugh at everything you do. You're a flash in the pan. Nothing more than a ginger jackass that plays pocket pool on a regular basis. Bischoff asks for Orange Cassidy's response, and he just stands there and says absolutely nothing, so he decides to move on. And the second question was, who's the better wrestler and biggest star? Jericho says that's easy, he's the greatest of all time, blah blah blah. Orange Cassidy hasn't won anything in his entire life besides biggest slacker in his high school yearbook. Then we have a question about, well, again, Orange Cassidy does not provide a response to this question. Next, we have a question about rising sea levels and global warming, and Jericho's like, what does that have to do with anything? That's a stupid question, so let's just move on. And this is where Orange Cassidy decides to pipe in, and he gives this, it wasn't long, but this quick speech full of statistics and everything about rising sea levels and the dangers thereof. And after he's done, everybody is completely stunned and gobsmacked about what they just heard from Orange Cassidy. It was very entertaining. And then they move on to another question. Again, Jericho just continues to go off on Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy doesn't respond. And then the last one, they ask, why is this fight so important to each of you? And Jericho, and this is when Orange Cassidy speaks up, and Orange Cassidy says, this is the biggest match of my career. But not only is it the biggest match of my career, it's the biggest match of Jericho's career. Oh my God. Career. And he says, think about it. If I beat you, how big of an embarrassment will it be that the guy who wrestles with his hands in his pockets beat Chris Jericho? And Jericho's like, well, I'm going to beat the shit out of you next week. And you know what? I'm going to beat the shit out of you right now. Jake Hager, get him! And Jake Hager attacks Orange Cassidy. He beats him up, and he's basically he's out on his feet. And Jake puts Orange Cassidy's hands in his pockets and then feeds him to Chris Jericho that for him to hit the Judas effect and knock out Orange Cassidy, and he's laid out, and this is when best friends run out to help their friend. A little late for the save, guys. It would have been nice if you were out a little earlier to prevent your friend from getting a beating. Aren't like debate candidates, don't they usually have some sort of bodyguards or security or something like that? It makes sense if best friends came out with him, or they were just too taken back by the damage to Trent's mom's car. And that was that. We move on to a Tony Schiavone segment with Britt Baker, and he just lays out that Britt Baker said that Big Swole would have to face somebody of her choosing to get a match with her. So she decides to choose Reba, and Rebel looks like she just got blindsided big time, like she had absolutely no idea what was happening. So she goes to get in the ring. She like barely trips to get in the. This really made no sense because Rebel was a wrestler, so I don't know why this would go this way. Anyways, Big Swole comes out. Rebel fights like she has no idea what she's doing. She goes up to the top rope to hit like a moonsault or something like that, and she's like feigning being unbalanced. So she decides to go down to the second rope. She misses the moonsault, and in the end, Big Swole hits Dirty Dancing for the win. I was really hoping that this was a ploy from Britt Baker, and that Rebel was just faking it on not being a good wrestler or something like that, and that Rebel would then turn it on and give Big Swole a little bit more of a challenge. So I don't know what they were thinking about here to do it this way. It would have been because now it just makes Britt look like an idiot for choosing somebody who doesn't wrestle, unless she's trying to torture Rebel for some reason. That's really the only thing. Like, does she want Rebel to leave and not be friends with Britt or be in her entourage anymore or anything like that? Because at this point, Rebel has taken a lot of crap from Britt Baker, so I have no idea why she's even with Britt at this point, and this would be like the straw that broke the camel's back here, where it's like, okay, you put me in a match to get beat up by Big Swole. What did you think was going to happen? If she even thought she was a wrestler or something like that. Yeah, this just, it was weird. I don't know why it even went down like that. Next up was the final match of the evening. We have Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship. So a little strange that they would grant Darby Allin a title match, given that he was number 5 on the rankings, though Jon Moxley has beat 2 of the other guys on the top 5. He's beaten Brodie Lee, and he's beaten Brian Cage for the title. So we also have Lance Archer in there. He has not had a title shot, but MJF is getting a title shot. That's already scheduled. So, I mean, Lance Archer would have a complaint here that he got skipped over for Darby Allin. So he would have a bit of a case. So I'm curious if that case actually ends up playing out at some point. Darby Allin comes out to the ring with a paper mask on, with Jon Moxley's face and one of the eyes cut out. He's done this in the past for other matches. Allin leaves the mask on even after the bell, but Moxley rips it off. Allin slaps Moxley, but Moxley punches him right in the face. So Darby Allin is already bloodied up right at the beginning from the punch in the mouth. He's bleeding from the mouth here. Moxley pretty much takes control for a good hunk of the match, especially in the beginning. They fight up onto the stage at one point, and Moxley throws him off the stage, and Allin flies into the ring post. They definitely added in the sound effect of Allin hitting the ring post. Actually, I didn't even mention it earlier. During the brawl with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, the same thing happened. Matt Hardy was sent into the post, and it sounded like they added in a little bit of a sound effect on hitting the ring post, so they did it here as well. And now while I'm even thinking about it, the crowd noise was pumped up a lot more than last week, and it sounded like they sweetened up the crowd quite a bit. I noticed it just in the first match, but as the show went on, it just basically felt normal in the end. Some others complained about it being too much, but I was okay. Basically, after the first match, I didn't notice it anymore. And we have after Darby was thrown off the stage and into the ring post, he's completely laid out on the outside. Moxley is looking to the ref like, okay, are you gonna let this match continue? You're just not gonna call it? I mean, look at him, the kid's like dead. So he goes on to the outside and picks up Darby Allin and says, "This is where I'm going to pin you." They fight back into the ring. Moxley puts on a single leg crab for a while, then an STF, and then Darby mounts a bit of a comeback here. He spears Moxley out of the ring, hits this crazy high-speed dive that he likes to do, and then Allin pulls the corner post cover off. So the corner posts in AEW are basically square tube stock, so they're thick but they are hollow, so they have a cap on the top. So he pulled the cap off, so now you can the inside of the post is exposed. He puts Moxley's hand down into it and like crushes it with his foot. He does a cannonball off the top rope to the floor, and then back in the ring he hits a code red for a 2 count. This is where I noticed they also edited in some extra Tony Schiavone exclamations, because when he said the code red, it was not at the same texture or tone, I guess you will, of the regular announcing that he had been doing. You could tell it was recorded in a different place on a different microphone. So they definitely edited the sound a bit for this show because it was taped. They did have the ability to do it. After that, Wardlow comes out onto the stage and distracts the ref. MJF runs through and clocks Moxley with the AEW title belt, and Jon Moxley is busted open from that. While he's laid out, Allin goes and hits a coffin drop, and Moxley kicks out at a very close 2, but Moxley is on Dream Street still. Allin hits a flip over stunner and then a back elbow, and Moxley is laid out once again. Allin goes for another coffin drop, but he goes to the well one too many times. Moxley turns into it and catches him to throw on a rear naked choke, and Darby Allin just will not give up. So Moxley hits a Gotch-style pile driver. Allin kicks out at 2. And then we have Moxley. He doesn't want to do it, but he has to lift up Allin, hits the paradigm shift, and gets the pin. Immediately after the 3 is counted, Moxley is concerned about Allin. He basically pulls him up into his arms. and is kind of like hugging him. And then we cut backstage. MJF is just stunned about what happened, that Moxley still pulled out the win. Then they close out the show here, but over on social media, there was a couple more minutes after the match. Moxley snagged the mic and basically said that Darby Allin is a persistent little guy, and that he is the future of AEW, and he's going to have a lot of titles, but not while I'm here. But Moxley also said, I know that one of these days Darby Allin is going to take me out. But until that day, or actually he said, you're a loner just like me, but hey, you can ride with me whenever you want. So Jon Moxley seems to have a friend now. There's somebody he cares about in AEW. He also, after he threw the mic down, he yelled into the camera that MJF is a dead man. So that continues on, and we are going to obviously see that match at All Out. So that should be, I hope that's a good one. This should show off MJF's abilities at this point. Hopefully this is going to be a much better match than the title matches that we've seen out of Moxley so far. Really, I think he's more of a victim of circumstance than anything else. The matches that he's had for the title haven't been bad. They just haven't been... I think they had to pull a few not Hail Marys. I don't know what you want to say. They had to improvise a little bit. I don't think Brodie Lee was ever going to be a contender, but they had to do something. The COVID obviously has messed up some of their plans, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe they're getting back on track here, but hopefully MJF and Jon Moxley have a really good match once they finally go at All Out. Daxers, will MJF win at All Out? I don't think so. I don't think it now is the time for MJF to get the AEW championship. It's so early, given the grand scheme of things. I mean, the guy's only like 23 years old or something like that. He's going to be around in AEW for a long time. I think it's too early to put it on him. It's not too early. I don't think it's too early to take it off of Jon Moxley, but I think it's too early to put it on MJF. So I'm thinking they're going to continue on, and it's going to be maybe at Full Gear or whatever. Yeah, Full Gear. That's going to be the November show, right? So I think that might be where Moxley loses the title, unless they allow him to hold it over all the way to Revolution next year and give him a full 1-year title reign. I'd be fine either way. Who they're going to build up for him next, I am not sure. I think it's probably going to be somebody out of the implosion of the Elite. So I'm guessing it's going to be either Hangman or Kenny Omega that fight Moxley at Full Gear. I mean, it would be a 1 year ago. They could go back to Omega again. That's where they had the unsanctioned match, right? So they could go back to Full Gear with Omega and Jon Moxley once again. But we'll have to see where things shift to at All Out, and that might give us some idea of where they're going to be heading for the next challenger or two for Jon Moxley. I'm guessing they're probably going to have a title match maybe early October, and then whoever that's going to be, I'm guessing it's not going to be anything huge. And Jon Moxley will roll through on that one and then set it up for Full Gear, and that's probably where we're going to have the the suspense of will Jon Moxley retain or not there. That's probably where the next big match is going to be happening. So be interesting to see how that turns out. So next week we have announced Scorpio Sky and Cody for the TNT Championship. We have Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, which we already knew about. We have Omega and Hangman Page in a non-title match against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. At least it's not non-title as far as I know. It didn't say that. It didn't say it was a title match on the screen, so I'm guessing it's not. We have Stu Grayson and Evil Uno versus the Bucks, and then we're also going to have appearances from the Rock and Roll Express and Tully and Arn Anderson. So this, I'm curious what is going to come out of this, but it's going to be Tag Team Appreciation Night over on AEW Dynamite, hosted by FTR. That was part of their contract stipulations when they signed. We'll talk a little bit here. We got ratings have come out, and Dynamite last night was up 16.6% in total viewers over last week, 901,000 viewers, so a big increase for them. And then NXT was actually also up 6.5% for 753,000 viewers, so 150,000 viewer difference, but that brings the combined viewership of 1.654 million viewers, which again, the total combined between NXT and AEW beat the final hour of Raw this week. So 2 weeks in a row. This is the biggest audience, that combined audience that has come out, at least going back multiple months at this point. It's the biggest number for let's see, since February 19th is the biggest combined number, and it's the biggest number for AEW going back to March. So good signs there, at least for AEW and NXT, as the viewership is at least steady or even on a slight increase, which is good compared to the other WWE products that have not been doing so great, even before the pandemic anyways, but they have not done very good in the pandemic. But once again, we have AEW winning the over 50, but I don't think AEW really cares in the end. So good turnout for viewers for both shows. AEW getting a big bump, and like I said, best audience going back to March 18th. So good to see there. For those who haven't seen the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament that started over on YouTube on Monday, the first matches were Nyla Rose and Ariane Andrew versus Tay Conti and Anna Jay. I actually thought that was a decent match. Tay Conti, she's got a ton of promise. I have not seen any of her work over in WWE or NXT, I guess she was on. But she showed a lot of good athleticism in this match. In the end, they just beat down on Nyla Rose's leg to take her out. So actually, Tay Conti and Anna Jay move on, where Nyla Rose and Ariane were knocked out in the first round. This was mentioned that Ariane, or it wasn't mentioned here, but I've heard that this is just a one and done from Ariane, just something to do, so she's not coming back to wrestle full time or anything like that. The first match was the Nightmare Sisters. So strange coincidence that Allie and Brandy Rhodes pulled the same color. They I don't even remember who they faced off against. Hold on, let me bring that up. They faced off against Penelope Ford and Mel. I thought that was also a decent match. Like I've heard a lot of commentators say that that this show was total garbage. I wouldn't say that. I thought the matches were fine. Even the second one, the one with Nyla Rose versus Tay Conti and Anna Jay, I thought that match was on the good side. But Brandy Rose and Allie defeated Penelope Ford and Mel. I was hoping this wasn't going to turn into a Brandy Rhodes vehicle, but it looks like it might, because after the second match, they cut backstage and she cut a promo and basically didn't let Allie say anything. She was just super obnoxious. So, I do not know why they're allowing Brandy to go heel again and why she's doing this. Freaking ridiculous. Daxter said Allie and Penelope were two best wrestlers of the night. Yeah, probably. Though I think Tay Conti was probably a close third. She looked pretty good as well. So we'll see how that continues over on YouTube. But they did a really bad job at promoting this. Like, they didn't mention on AEW Dynamite last week, or if they did, it was just quickly in passing, that the women's tag tournament was going to be over on YouTube on its own show. And I don't remember them saying anything this week either. And like I said, if they did, it was just in quick passing, and I didn't even catch it. So they're doing a really, really bad job at trying to promote this. And surprisingly, it actually got a decent amount of views, if I remember correctly. Let me actually bring it up right here. Almost. It's up to 471,000 views, which is actually 150,000 more than AEW Dark. Let me check the previous weeks of AEW Dark as well. I'm curious if AEW Dark the previous week was actually just 15,000 more views than, and that's even given an extra week than the women's tag team cup tournament that's happening. So at least the video got a decent amount of views, but they did zero promotion for it. So pretty ridiculous. Anna Jay didn't show any personality. Tay Conti did good impression, slow at first, but showed way more than the others in the match. Nyla needs to learn to sell better, though she did pretty good here. She was selling the leg, basically limping throughout the entire thing. But the offense was a bit weak, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, Nyla's out anyways. And we didn't expect to see much from Ariane as well, since she hasn't wrestled in like 4 years, so it really made no sense to drag her through into a second round. So we'll see how that goes. Now we have Allie and Brandy, and then Tay and Anna moving on. But I really hope, I was so hoping this was not going to be a vehicle for Brandy, but it's not looking good that we're going to see Brandy doing some sort of heel stuff, and I don't know why they allow her to do this stuff. She should not be doing this stuff. One, she should not be wrestling on a weekly basis over on Dark, let alone in a tournament or on Dynamite or anything like that. She should just be a valet for somebody, for Dustin and QT or Cody. She should totally not be wrestling. Who will win the tournament? Anna, Tay, Nightmare Sisters. I don't know who are the rest in the women's tournament anyways. AEW Women's Tag Tournament. Because I'm not sure who's in the tournament to begin with. So I don't know what the other teams are. I don't. Quick Google search does not give me anything anyways. So I don't know at this point, but I have a bad feeling that it's going to be the Nightmare Sisters, which will be a huge bummer. I'd rather not see that. Really don't. Oh, I'm so over Brandy doing stuff and like taking time away from others. And also, this Alley storyline needs to work itself out because this is getting old at this point. I know there was a gap because QT Marshall had COVID and he was out for a few weeks, but they need to get this show on the road and get it tied up. Hopefully it's done at the end of the tag tournament, that this storyline with Alley, with the Nightmare family, or with QT Marshall, this whole thing needs to blow up, and it needs to blow up quickly. It's played out at this point. It's gone on far too long. It's got to get somewhere else. The only other one you can think of is Diamante. Is Diamante and Ivelisse teamed up as a tag pairing? That's what Daxter's might be alluding to. He doesn't know the name of the other one. But if Ivelisse and Diamante are a team, I would kind of move them up. But Diamante just did not show what I was expecting out of her with her singles match with Hikaru Shida. I would have much rather have seen Ivelisse versus Hikaru Shida last week. So I don't know where Ivelisse stands with AEW. Diamante obviously seems to be a little bit higher on AEW's radar, given that they put her in with the AEW Women's Champion last week. So I guess we will see, but I prefer Ivelisse over Diamante. So I guess we'll see. All right, so that is it for this week's AEW Dynamite review show. Flying solo this week. I know that one of my co-hosts is moving. The other one was having power issues from the hurricane ripping through. He did mention he might not have, his power had gone in and out. I'm guessing he might have lost power. So hopefully I will have Dustin back next week. And then we're going into some preemptions. I believe the 19th and the 26th are being pushed. I believe the 19th to the Saturday, and then I believe the 26th is actually just pushed to the Thursday, and then another day in September. I will get those to you definitely next week. Get the preemption schedule worked out here, but that is where we are. Hopefully I'll have Dustin next week. So thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also do the Newswire over on the YouTube channel. It's just short videos throughout the week covering AEW and New Japan news. The next New Japan show is going to be actually next Tuesday. We'll be covering the 6-man open weight the 6-man never open weight championship title. They are moving, they are having a tournament right now, and actually just started this morning. Well, at least this morning for me. It's going to be going through the 9th. So then on Tuesday, the 11th, we'll be running through that show. So we didn't know that we were going to be having a New Japan show prior to the Jingu show, but we are. That's going to be over on the 11th, so be sure to check that out. Also, drop us a review on iTunes, helps a lot. There's also a Discord channel if you have a question, comment, feedback, all that good stuff. If you disagree with us, if you got questions or discussions you want to bring up, send an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. I'm also looking for some additional New Japan co-hosts. Shoot me an email, eric@thatswrestling.com. So thanks for joining me this week, and I'll see you next time. That's wrestling. See you later, guys.